Imagine working for 40 years, raising your children, and finally reaching that long-awaited retirement. You dream of quiet mornings, gardening, and traveling. But then your adult child decides that your retirement is actually their personal, free, 24/7 childcare service. Welcome to Drama Drop. Today's story is about a grandmother who finally said no, and the family war that followed. It's a situation many of you might find familiar, but the way it ended left everyone shocked. Is it selfish to want your own life after 60? Or are adult children today becoming too entitled? Let's dive into the story of Linda and her daughter, Sarah. It all started with a simple favor that turned into a nightmare of broken boundaries and heated arguments. This is a story about respect, family duty, and the moment one woman decided she had given enough. Stick around until the end to see how the internet reacted to this explosive family fallout. Linda is 64 years old and lives in a quiet suburb in Ohio. She recently retired from a long career in nursing. Her daughter, Sarah, is 32 and has a 3-year-old daughter, Emily. When Sarah went back to work, she asked Linda to help out occasionally with the baby. Linda, being a loving grandmother, was happy to help, but occasionally quickly became every single day. Sarah would drop Emily off at 7 in the morning and wouldn't pick her up until 7 at night. Linda began to feel the physical toll. Her back ached from lifting a toddler, and she started missing her local book club and her yoga classes. When Linda tried to bring this up, Sarah's response was always the same. "Mom, it's not like you're doing anything else. You're just sitting at home anyway." This phrase cut deep. To Sarah, her mother's hard-earned free time had zero value. It was just a resource to be used for Sarah's convenience and financial gain. The tension reached a breaking point when Linda decided to reclaim her life. She booked a 5-day trip to the mountains with 2 of her oldest friends. This wasn't a sudden decision. She told Sarah about it a full month in advance. She even put a giant red circle on the calendar in the kitchen. Every week, Linda reminded Sarah, "Remember, I'll be away from the 12th to the 17th. You'll need to find a sitter or take some time off." Sarah would just nod and say, Yeah, Mom, I got it." Linda spent weeks looking forward to this trip. She bought new hiking boots and packed her bags with excitement. For the first time in years, she felt like she was doing something for herself, not for her boss or her children. But as the departure date approached, Sarah became strangely silent about the childcare arrangements. Linda assumed everything was handled. She didn't realize that Sarah had a very different plan in mind for that week. On the morning of the trip at 6 a.m., Linda was loading her suitcase into her car. Suddenly, Sarah's SUV pulled into the driveway. Sarah hopped out, grabbed Emily and a large diaper bag, and started walking toward the front door. Linda was stunned. "Sarah, what are you doing?" "I told you I'm leaving in 20 minutes. My friends are picking me up." Sarah didn't even look guilty. She just sighed and said, "Look, Mom, something came up at work, and the sitter canceled. You have to stay. It's just 5 days. You can go to the mountains another time." Linda felt a wave of cold realization. Her daughter hadn't even tried to find a backup. She simply assumed that Linda would cancel her plans, lose her deposit, and let her friends down, just to be the good grandmother. But this time, something inside Linda snapped. She looked at her daughter and said the words Sarah never expected to hear. "No, Sarah. I am not staying. I told you a month ago." The argument that followed was explosive. Sarah started screaming that Linda was being selfish and heartless. She yelled, "How can you choose a vacation over your own granddaughter? What kind of mother does that?" She even tried to physically block Linda from getting into her car, holding the crying toddler in her arms like a shield. Linda's heart was breaking for Emily, but she knew that if she stayed now, she would never be free again. She looked Sarah in the eye and said, "I am choosing myself because you refuse to respect me. You have 20 minutes to call your husband or take the day off. I am leaving." At exactly 6:30, Linda's friends arrived. Linda got into the car, locked the doors, and drove away while Sarah stood in the driveway, shouting insults. As they drove down the street, Linda's hands were shaking on the steering wheel. She felt a mix of intense guilt and a strange, powerful sense of relief. She was finally standing up for herself. The trip to the mountains should have been peaceful, but Sarah made sure it wasn't. For the first 3 days, Linda's phone was a war zone. Sarah sent dozens of text messages calling her an egoist and claiming that Linda had ruined her career because she had to take unpaid leave. She even went as far as to say, "Don't bother coming back because you aren't part of this family anymore. You won't see Emily for months." Linda's friends told her to turn off the phone, but it's hard for a mother to ignore those kinds of threats. Linda spent her evenings crying in the cabin, wondering if she had actually destroyed her relationship with her only daughter. However, she also realized something important. Not once in those messages did Sarah ask how Linda was doing or apologize for ignoring her warnings. It was all about Sarah's needs, Sarah's job, and Sarah's stress. The entitlement was total and absolute. It was a wake-up call for Linda. When Linda eventually shared her story online to ask if she was truly the jerk, the response was overwhelming. Thousands of people, many of them grandparents themselves, flooded the comments. One top comment read, "You are not a babysitting machine. You are a human being who finished her job of raising kids. Sarah is being emotionally abusive to get free labor." Another person wrote, "The fact that she showed up with a packed bag after a month's notice shows she has zero respect for you. If you stay, you're just teaching her that her bullying works." Many users pointed out a growing trend in the US where the sandwich generation feels entitled to their parents' retirement time without any compensation or gratitude. The consensus was clear. Linda did the right thing. Setting boundaries isn't an act of hate, it's an act of self-preservation. This support gave Linda the strength she needed to face what was waiting for her back home. When Linda returned from her trip, she didn't call Sarah right away. She waited. 2 weeks passed in total silence. Then Sarah finally reached out, but it wasn't a typical "I'm sorry" call. Sarah had called around to local daycare centers and realized that full-time care for Emily would cost her nearly $2,000 a month. She had also realized that her friends and her husband didn't support her behavior. Her husband had actually told her she was being insane for treating his mother-in-law that way. The power dynamic had shifted. Sarah asked to meet for coffee. At the meeting, Linda laid down new rules. She would watch Emily 2 days a week for 6 hours only and never on weekends. If Sarah was late even once, the deal was off. Sarah didn't like it, but she realized she had no choice. She had pushed her mother too far, and for the first time, she saw that her mother's time had a price and a value. This story serves as a powerful reminder for all of us. Retirement is a reward for a lifetime of hard work, not a second shift of unpaid labor. To our viewers in the Drama Drop community, especially those of you who are grandparents, have you ever felt pressured by your children to give up your golden years? Where do you draw the line between being a helpful grandparent and being taken advantage of? Some might say Linda was too harsh, while others believe she didn't go far enough. What would you have done if your daughter showed up at your door while you were leaving for a trip? Let us know your thoughts and your own stories in the comments below. We read every single one, and your perspective helps others in the same situation. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more real-life dramas, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. New drama drops every week. See you in the next episode.